Hello, hello, welcome. If this is the first time to this channel for you, this is Tim McKay. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am kind of up against it right now, and I am working to get myself out of that. And part of this, I feel, has been because of an identity crisis. And I'm hoping that this conversation or this little spiel will help you if you're stuck in a situation that's similar to me. And I think part of it comes from being who I am as an individual, but I think a lot of those of us who are in a technical role have a different mindset, and we're used to certain things falling into a certain order. And when they're ambiguous, a little more creative, I think it's a little bit harder for us to articulate certain things. And I think articulating who we are is one of those things. So I'm going to ask you a question. Are you stuck in your own personal spreadsheet hell? I help companies just like you solve the root causes behind the reason you got into that pickle. Some folks need a fire extinguisher, some need a 5-day evacuation, while others need a full overhaul. It really depends on the situation and the budget. How can I help you? Now, if I said that to you, and this is like the first time I've actually said it out loud in those exact words, but that gives you a good picture of who I am, what I do, right? It's taken me a long time to hone this in because there's so many layers, and I'm just going to unpack this as to why it's been complicated for me. So, rewinding back to myself as a youth, my story begins with being forced into a lot of social isolation, bullied in school, good but not great home life. Um, I became somewhat jaded in a lot of ways, loudmouthed. I lashed out. I spoke out because I was quick to find ways to mock people. And so when I was young, it was fun for me because I could get back at people, even to score somewhat. But it also left me in a lot of social isolation. So I developed, I would call like an outside looking in lifestyle. And I took into self-employment long before I should have because I was untethered to a purpose and I didn't have a foundation or a network to lean on. So I wasn't on a position of strength. And that was a failure on my part. I shouldn't have done that. And I wish I had people in my life that gave me good counsel on that. I probably wouldn't have listened, but I wish I had that. This move permeated everything. And I've never shaken from that mindset. I'm 100% comfortable having that outside looking in perspective, but it took decades for me to become comfortable and for me to really embrace that as a superpower. So what this has forced me to contend with is that I don't think about situations the same as about 99.8% of you. My mind always gravitates towards a contrarian perspective. What does that mean? If you tell me the sky is blue, I'm going to tell you, well, there's probably some clouds coming. If you tell me that everything is good in your company, I'm going to say, well, every company has its warts. I'm always going to gravitate to whatever someone is telling me, I'm going to look for a different angle. I don't know why. My mind just it's like having a basketball in your hand and then you're looking at the label on one side and you're like, I'm going to flip it over away and see what's on the other side. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. My mind always does this. It always does this. I can't shut it off. And, this has been a source of out-of-box thinking for decades. And so it's also produced some good and bad consequences in my personal life, and so in the end, I'm really just saying this, my circumstances, my mindset gives me a totally unique perspective. Almost always goes against the natural grain of people's thinking, likely comes across as arrogant, condescending, and disrespectful, but that's never, ever been my intent. Actually, quite the opposite. I actually become as passionate or more passionate about the pain or the problem people are going after because it's something I can twist my mind on. It's a puzzle, and I neglect to think of the individuals I'm impacting or I'm affecting in the pursuit of that solution, and I tend to think of them as a distraction or a hindrance in getting to that solution. That's been what I observed in my subconscious. If I start rooting through the server logs of my brain, that's what I see. Is that is what I try to get to that solution. I try to solve it, but these external things are slowing me down. So I wouldn't necessarily say I've been distrustful of people, but I am distrustful of what people say, why they're saying it, and what they're not saying. A lot of people will filter things out just by happenstance. They think they're helping you by not overloading you. I really hate that because I can take in a lot of stuff fast. Like I remember, and as an aside, I remember when I started going into consulting, I would go to a new contract position, and it would take me about 4 to 5 months where I felt I was ramped up. I was really at the 100% contributing level of performance. And I'm sure many of you who are listening to this or any of you listening to this would have, when you start a new job, it's a lot of new people, processes, the forms are different, the logos, the personalities are wildly different than where you were at last. So it takes you time to settle in. I can do that in under a day, or even just zero. I can just go in cold to a situation now, and I can perform at 100%. A lot of it that's based on experiential knowledge. Like I've done a lot, but a lot of it is just like I can cut through the noise. I know what's actually important now, and so I've crunched that 6-month window down to like instantaneous. And so that's just how my mind works at this point. Like I've grown comfortable with it. It's just the way it goes. Now, that has also produced a problem, though, because I've always forever had a challenge to describe myself to others in my career. Like, what do I do? Well, my mind goes nuts because I'm thinking about all these 50 things I've done recently. And it's like, how do I summarize that? And then my mind gets, then I come up with some answer that's not really good. And so the challenge is that when to others, they see me as switching from venture to venture. I'm untethered, right? Remember, I used that word earlier, untethered. But from my perspective, everything's been a linear progression. And that's much different than what people see me as. So I've been unable to articulate this in any way. So this week, I had a bit of an epiphany about this. And it started by how I was starting to reach out to people on my LinkedIn that I hadn't spoken to in a long time. And there was just some interesting feedback, specifically this question of, what venture are you up to now? That got me thinking. And so just seeing from all slices of my career, what do people resonate with, and who's ignored my message after seeing it? That was another one too. So anyway, I did have an epiphany earlier this week, and I created a video about that. And it's actually going to drop on this channel, and I think tomorrow. But this is kind of like an enhancement or a slight edge to that one. So what I do ultimately is I solve problems, and I have called myself a problem solver in the past, but that's generic. It's hard for people to absorb that. Like, what does that mean? Well, what kind of problems? Well, all problems, really. And so it's nuanced, right? And so what I actually do is I'll take the symptoms that I'm presented, I'll assess the people, the process, technology, triangle to kind of understand the why behind the why. And it's because every person and every company is unique. So are their problems. And guess what? So will be the solutions. And because if I have, what I've done is bespoke, it's always custom. It's always unique to the situation because it's fine-tuned, right? And that's been the difference, I think, is it's hard to aggregate that and summarize that, because the outcomes are what people are asking me. What are the outcomes you produce? And the outcome I produce is resolution to problems. And if I start articulating, well, this guy over here, I solved it by giving him some advice. I told him not to do a certain thing, and now he's not doing certain thing, and now he's having success. Over here, these guys had a dysfunctional development team. So I said, fire that guy. They did. They got better. and from my perspective, it's the same thing that I've done. That's what, because I'm to the uninitiated. um, I am all over the place doing all these different weird things, but I'm still, I'm always just in the same loop. I have an observer problem, probe, because I don't take it as face value ever. And then I determine a solution for the problem. And then trying to get alignment for the solution to be implemented with the client is often a challenge, but that's a different matter. But that's been the same pattern since I started my career. Observe a problem, probe the problem, solution. That's what I do. So now that I fully understand that, I just need to explain it better to people. And that's on me for taking so long. I mean, I've basically been in the work world for like 30 years almost now. I mean, 27, 28 years. So right now, I'm using a simple approach to let prospective clients self-identify based on whether or not they are in what I'm calling spreadsheet hell, because it's a real thing out there, and they know who they are. And my the most recent clients, that's exactly what they're dealing with. They started off small, made a simple little spreadsheet to track something, and then now it's blossomed into hundreds and hundreds of spreadsheets that are different versions almost every month, and nothing, can't consolidate it all. You can't compare anything, and it's a big mess. So I help people with those situations get to solve the root causes behind the reason they got into that pickle. So, like I said at the beginning, some folks need a single-use fire extinguisher, some need a 5-day evacuation, and others need a full overhaul. Really depends on the situation and budget. But at the end of the day, I'm going to help you get there. That's what I do. So, in conclusion, I hope this has helped someone. And I think that when you start to talk to people and hear what they're saying about you, and I've been really enjoying this process of going back in time to people I used to work with, because what they say and they don't say, or if they respond or they don't respond, really says a lot about what the world has seen about you. Because after about 4 or 5 years, people kind of forget the details a lot, but they'll remember the experience they had with you. So when they're responding, if it's like in written text, if there's exclamation marks, hey, good to hear from you, Tim. That's a good sign. If there's no response, means maybe they didn't see it. But if you can see that they've updated it. I had one friend, very like a one-liner kind of factual response. No exclamation marks. Like, I'm like, okay, I know where we are. I know where we are, brother. That's okay. That's fine. But it's a sign. And so my advice to you is listen to what people have said about you. Find out if that resonates with where you feel you are. Be honest with yourself about it. And then, if you know yourself, and then now you can go, I can think in my case, I know that clients are dealing with spreadsheet hell. That's just one symptom of many that I can talk to people about, but that's something where they understand that. So now I can say, okay, well, I can solve that for you. If you're in spreadsheet hell, I can help companies just like you solve the root causes behind the reason you got there. So let's get you out there. Let's give you an emergency hatch. Let's get you a rebuild. Let's get you into a better situation. That's what I do. So that's what I've always done. And I've got lots of stories and lots of experience in doing it. So that's what I know today. And 4:53 a.m. on a Saturday. Yes, that is correct. Anyways, please let me know if this has been helpful for you. I would like to hear a comment and like this video. Actually, like it or dislike it. I want to know. I use that as feedback. I don't really care about the metrics on this channel. Just like it or thumb it down if you didn't like the video. That's good to know too. Thank you very much.